Welcome to Watching Dead, the officially unofficial podcast for The Walking Dead on AMC. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're talking about Season 9, Episode 10, titled Omega. Aaron, what'd you think of this episode?
I'm watching this episode and I go through like different filters of my Walking Dead fandom and anti-fandom, and I'm like, is this show deserve to be doing something like this? And then I start thinking about like comparing it to like the Next Generation episodes that we've watched and I've watched recently, and I'm like, well, I mean, this is at least as good as that, and you have to flesh out an antagonist, and you have to like get eventually. This is such a weird thing, the skinwalking deal. You have to have some kind of bizarre, weird thing to get it started. Like, that's the thing that Jadis was missing. The like, but why? But why? Of all, okay, you were a kindergarten teacher, did finger paints, and you like to do art, but why all this other stuff? Like why all the Mad Max Burning Man shit? Like, whose idea was that? Who enforced it? They're attempting to answer this question and doing it through characters who we know have gone through similar abuse, and kind of being like Daryl using Henry is such an interesting thing because it's a dual purpose. He's getting valuable information, and he's also teaching Henry a lesson about how you can be used if you're so fucking wretchedly naive. Mm-hmm. And better that a gentle lesson from someone who loves and cares for you than dying screaming at the hands of a shaved head Samantha Morton later on in the season. So I think a lot of it was I thought it was pretty interesting. And I feel like in other earlier seasons, they would have drugged this reveal about, the true nature of the mom and the dad and who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. And they would have drug it out for several episodes. And then, to tie a bow on it, it did feel a little rushed that someone with this much trauma and abuse and living with it would just flip on their, abuser and their pack at like the very first sign of safety and stability. But you know what? I don't know psychology enough to know that's not the case. It would be like I think of Elizabeth Smart. When she finally had an opportunity to get free, she fucking took it, even though she'd spent years as a child being, abused and conditioned into accepting the situation. Elizabeth Smart, she was I think it was the Mormon girl that got abducted by that crazy person to be like a sex slave for like years and years. I don't know, maybe this is how it works. The first time someone internalizes this crazy stuff, and you get if you kidnap your average North Korean, how long do they spend in their cell singing praises to the God Emperor until they're like, you know what, this is bullshit. It's always been bullshit. I'm ready to live a free life. I don't know. So it seemed rushed, but maybe this is. So I was, okay, whatever. It's better than I'm used to from The Walking Dead, and I'm allowing it. What did you think?
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point. Feels like Daryl is somehow secretly the trickster therapist of the apocalypse, because it's a super effective therapy session. She has all these breakthroughs just right off the bat.
Yeah.
The combination of Henry and Daryl. I don't know. The Walking Dead is a show that I watch once and I kind of just dismiss because it doesn't have anything interesting to say anymore, if it ever did. And I don't think too hard about this show, but yeah, I like your points about Jadis, because that was one of the big things we complained about. It was all weirdness for weirdness sake, and they didn't do anything to justify any of it. And here they're at least trying, so I'll give them that. Overall, I think there are some things they could have done better in this episode, because I do think that turn was super sudden,
for sure,
and just overly compressed, although I would prefer that to it being dragged out, like you said, for multiple episodes. And also the stuff with the new group going out and looking for their friend, I think could have been done better. They have two scenes that are effectively the same. They start going out with Tara and they all say, no, we got to come back and make a plan. And then they do it again by the end of the episode. I wish they would have just done it once and had a couple of the people just say, no, we're going to stay out here and look for them. But, they need to fill a 40 2.5 minute chunk or whatever.
Yeah.
Depending on what advertising they have going on that week. So
yeah. and they're doing, I mean, they're setting up this interesting symmetry between, like maybe what's going on with the FNGs and Alpha's pack about like, choices you make and you don't really think about them, and they're self-serving and they don't really make sense. And also the other thing, if you're annoyed at the flip-flopping and the light flip-flopping this episode, I think they're setting up Lydia to have another 180, because one of her bedrock principles is, well, mom doesn't give a shit about me. She doesn't care about me like above and beyond anybody else. She's like ruthless and cold and all this stuff. And now here she is at the gates demanding her daughter back, which is evidence to the contrary of what she had previously thought. So even if she thinks that her mom's an abuser and this and that, like, I think there is going to be something inside her touched that her mom came back. Even though it's pretty easy, like the therapist Daryl's going to clock in and be like, well, this isn't love, this is possession.
Yeah.
Like we didn't, you're hers and she doesn't like us having her things. This isn't like, oh my God, I'm worried about my daughter, I need her back. And she'll probably give you a vicious beating for making her humiliate herself in this way when you get back. So it's like, there's going to be a lot of psychology, I think, in episodes ahead, because Daryl's right. This girl's fucked up. She's been systematically abused for 10 years? About that. So
like
it's, and Daryl, he went through that same kind of life and got fucked up and twisted with his brother. And so he knows firsthand. So like I said, that could be really interesting and give Daryl some really cool things to do and Norman Reedus. Or it could be ham-fisted and shitty. We shall see.
Are they going to try to integrate the Whisperers into the Hilltop? Is there any chance that they're going to just like open the gates? Come on in, we got a doctor.
I mean, we got fresh vegetables. You which would you rather pull out of the ground and eat? This carrot or this worm? You want a Timon and Pumbaa it, or do you want to come back to Pride Rock? Like, I think it's a pretty easy choice for a lot of these people, because I guess I'm curious about the Alpha, whether the majority of this clan of hers came from that moldy basement, because how the hell do you attract followers and keep them in line? Because it's pretty damn easy to just walk off of your shift on a zombie herd, and you look like a zombie, you just kind of shamble away, and you get like a quarter mile from these people and keep walking, you're done. But on the other hand, I don't know, like, they do the case that the Alpha is making about living behind walls, thinking it's going to keep you safe, being a pipe dream, is pretty compelling, because that seems to be everyone's universal experience in the zombie apocalypse. Is like, you find something that works, something either internally or externally happens, it falls to shit, and then you run screaming from it until the next place where you think you can let your guard down. And they're just like, you know what, we're at end game, we're just going to join the walkers. I don't know.
Except
it's kind of weird to like
3 examples of communities that are working, so it's going to be a little bit harder.
Right. Especially since now it's been working. I think that's the heavy lifting the Flash Forward did. Like 6 years it's been working and it's still going to fall. Like, really? It looks like it's thriving and growing. But then again, let's see, because like if the Alpha can take a zombie horde and smash it, then that kind of proves their point. I think we're going to see, like, this is going to be one of them philosophical differences that gets resolved on the battlefield, like Negan, only this is going to be a really weird one because the soldiers are going to be undead. Like I said, that just the principle, just the setting sounds ridiculously cool. I don't know how they can fuck it up.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, let's start off with the recap. We get a flashback to when the apocalypse started. That whole thing is going down, and a family is hiding out in a basement community. The young girl is Lydia, and she's definitely using Henry to get information about the community from the jail cell. And Daryl's listening outside, and Lydia claims that you don't mess with her mom. And I guess by the end of the episode, we kind of get the context for that. And I would agree with her. She seems like a nasty woman.
Yeah. It's funny that they're making these direct these direct comparisons from the Alpha, Lydia's mom, to Carol. because that's another thing exciting. Like if this ends up being like a war, like a Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, like War of the Matriarchy, I think that would be kind of cool. Because like that's what the War of the Kings kind of devolved into. You know, Marjorie versus Cersei versus Daenerys. You know, Carol versus the Alpha. The way they're like, and they're equal and opposites because you know, Carol shaved her head to protect herself from her abuser. The Alpha shaved her head just because she wasn't buying into society's bullshit no more. She wasn't gonna have to worry about appealing to her husband or whatever. And you know, she was the abuser in the relationship. It's interesting. They're setting up a lot of cool symmetries with Henry, and like even having Henry and Lydia be kind of in teenage puppy dog love is a little you know, Romeo and Juliet, right?
Sure. Yeah.
This is like big Gothic dynasties kind of stuff that they're playing with, and I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, they're doing some symmetry between the timelines with Lydia. She's trapped in a basement in both of those scenarios.
Right.
One of them with some lunatics and one of them with some decent people who want to see her get healthy. So yeah, a lot of questions about where her loyalties will end up soon enough. I was also pleasantly surprised to see that Daryl's doing the smart thing here. He's got a whole crew, as we find out later, just taking shifts, listening in on their conversations. Kind of like we were hoping last episode was true. So glad to see that.
I was going to ask you what you think or know of Samantha Morton, who is the mother in this.
Nothing,
these scenes.
I think.
She played the lead precog in Minority Report, and
yes, okay.
And she's also memorably in all 3 seasons of Hulu's Harlots. But it's wild because like she played kind of like a screaming, you know, mentally ill clairvoyant in Minority Report, and she plays a literal cackling whore in Harlots, and like this is radical departure from anything I've seen her in, and I'm kind of really, you know, I was wondering if she could pull off like truly fierce, and in that final scene with her head shaved and her eyes blacked and like her teeth all fucked up because they don't brush teeth in the zombie hordes, like I kind of bought it. I'm really interested in seeing because she's done like in Harlot, she did some really, really good work. I'm really interested in this is a serious actor, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with her in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking Dead can turn any serious actor into a goof.
That's true. We've had some rum runs with what they did to the Wire alumnus should be a crime
what they're
against
still
cinema.
doing to the Wire alumnus.
That's true. Oh my god,
holding that poor man hostage.
Carver can't get away. Oh my god.
Okay, Tara leads the new group out into the woods looking for Stradivarius and Boston Rob. They cautiously take on a group of what they think are walkers, wary that they could be living in disguise. And they find their horses cut open with knives and then chewed up, which tells them that they were attacked first by humans. Tara decides to play it safe by heading back to make a plan. Good plan, Tara. Like the first part of your plan, already a success. Head the fuck back. Don't be out here with these new people who you barely trust, who are desperate to find their friend. Like, go back, regroup, think it through. You'll all be much better off for it.
I agree, and especially since like you can see the dynamics of the zombie encounters have changed so much. Like, oh god, we've gotten so used to taking out this particular type of threat, and now the game has been changed. And like I was shocked that this was just a zombie herd. And I thought that was a pretty good pacing to like let them kind of have this moment of like, oh god, what are we getting ourselves into? This is scary again.
Yeah.
Like this isn't the like, you know, we've seen like Aaron Sorkin has walk and talk scenes where characters are having character development as they're stabbing zombies and clearing because they're just not a threat to these people, and now they are.
Right.
Even when it's not actively being like Army of the Dead levels of cool, it's changed the game up, which again, like I said, this is Robert Kirkman, pat yourself on the back. This was a really nice late game change in both the comics and now the TV series has really injected a lot of fresh drama and tension. So kudos.
Okay, then we go back to Hilltop where Henry offers Lydia his food just to be nice. He understands the power of being nice. Lydia, however, doesn't value food because her dad said it would never be okay again. They're making some weird connections here, and that should have been the first indication that something was not right about this story she's telling, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and she confuses her like tenses and pronouns a few times, which I thought was interesting. Her, sometimes she flips to she, he. Sometimes she flips, was, is, and like hastily corrects herself. And I thought that this was all like the game.
Yeah.
But I was kind of pleasantly surprised at the end of the episode to find out that there is actually some layers of trauma. It's that for sure. She's playing a game. She's, actively trying to escape, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
But there's also some other interesting layers going on. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought like being unsure ourselves and having this kind of told progressively through a single episode was pretty good. I don't know what hunger is a gift. What that means.
Yeah.
Like if you're hungry, you're alive, but like zombies seem like they're always hungry and they're not. So like I was trying to see like what is the philosophy that will make that make sense from a certain point of view, and I'm wondering if we'll get it, because it doesn't get, like in all the flood of information she gives at the end of this episode, none of this kind of made that statement make sense. But there's lots of season left.
Sure. And yeah, there's more to this scene. Lydia's asking Henry about his family and the other community that he talks about, and he readily gives up the keys to the kingdom, pun intended. Daryl immediately busts in, pulls him out of his cell, and shoots his ass out, and reveals that they've been using Henry as a way to get info out of Lydia, and Henry's pissed.
Yeah, but like, I mean, he's 15. Like I keep on wanting to be like, what the fuck? Why are you this way? And the reason he's this way is because he's 15 and his dad's Ezekiel. That's it. That's it. He would be, imagine if Carol wasn't there to be a counterpoint, he would be completely insufferable. Yeah. So he's got some hard lessons he needs to learn, and Daryl's there to teach him to him and kind of keep him on the rails. Like Daryl's using him, but also ready to put a stop to it when he starts running his mouth about. But I don't know. He's 15. Like, it's so stupid to tell this girl that you just caught in like active combat, who's been trying to escape the whole time, like where you live, their strength, how many guards you've got. Like, Jesus, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is all coming. You got to remember, this is all coming off the back of being extremely disappointed that Enid is dating Boston Rob.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, right. He's 15. He's looking for love in all the wrong places, right?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
It's classic teenager movie.
Why can't I have a girl? Why can't I be a blacksmith? Why can't I have a girl? Why don't? Yeah.
I do like the way they're writing Lydia in these flashback scenes. She's much more of a kid than other kids, and you've talked about how the apocalypse might change a kid, and I think if you want to look at that and say, oh, that's an example of this, then they're doing a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, and also like in the she's not an adult, a teenage Lydia, there is a little hint of kind of prolonged pre-adolescence. Like she's not as mature as like Henry or Enid or Carl was. Yeah. Even though they went through lots of different traumas in the zombie apocalypse. There is this kind of like what is the word, infantilism, something about her, like she's very dangerous and an adult in that way, but the way she talks and kind of like moves reminds me of a scared little girl instead of like a confident, strong but scary young woman. And I think they're doing that too, because I feel like there's some psychology behind that abuse kind of keeps people locked in these. I just watched this fucked up Greek movie Dogtooth, which is examining of like how fucked up parents can keep their children, like adult children, with this kind of like enforced rigid parental roles. And it's like, maybe I'm way more open to all of this because I just happened to see that last week. But like, holy shit, it turns out like when it comes to psychology, people really can be molded like clay, and they're really fucked up positions. And I think Lydia is one of those misshapen clay dolls.
And to some extent, so is Daryl,
right.
Like they have a somewhat shared history.
There's a reason he's out in the woods with his dog tanning hides when he could be with people who love and support him.
Right.
Because that's his damage. that doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel real. And, he gets to sleep in a soft bed, but he prefers the penthouse suite. So yeah, it's an interesting counterpoint.
We forgot to talk about it. I wanted to jump back since we're in a flashback scene here. They have Lydia's mother singing a song to her, and then later Lydia's father singing a song to her. That seemed really dumb when I was listening to it, and that might be because it's from 1939 and it's in a Groucho Marx movie called At the Circus. It's called Lydia the Tattooed Lady. I don't know if this... I've never seen that movie. I don't know that Groucho Marx has any real connection to The Walking Dead. But I guess if you know more about this than we do, feel free to write in and let us know.
Watch for exploding cigars.
Sure. Maybe that's it. Maybe she's an expert at making explosive cigars.
Yeah, I do. I don't know. Maybe I wonder if it's something from the comic too. It could be some pull that Kirkman made from his childhood. Cause yeah, like what parent and when did this go down? 2010. Like sings their children Groucho Marx songs, but I don't know.
All right, Daryl goes to see Lydia. He offers her pain pills for an injury, but she turns him down. He then asks about the horses and what her mother would do if she found their people. We get another flashback where people in the basement are freaking out. One of them tries to attract the attention of people outside, and Lydia's mother attacks and kills him. And back in reality, or in modern day, Daryl gives Lydia the pain meds and tells her there are good people here who will help her as long as that's mutual. And Daryl gets her some water, but she tries to attack him through the bars, and it doesn't work, obviously.
Yeah. What did she steal? Like what did she steal off the hook in the previous scene? Did you notice that? I thought it was the lamp. They show that
close up of the hook, and I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure there was a lamp hanging there, and if she was going to do something crazy with it, I think it would have happened in this episode.
It should have, yeah.
But like I thought that she was going to fling this oil lamp and catch like Daryl on fire or some shit, or is like someone there to change her bedpan or whatnot. But like I said, Lydia is like dangerous, but she's not very good at deception, because the way to play this is to not literally the second that your captor gives you 1 inch, like, extends the ladle across the bar to betray them immediately. Like like you work. That's an opening that you keep working, and you build that, and you keep pushing that until they're not expecting it, and then you strike.
And so she knows this. She's doing it with Henry, right? Like,
is she consciously? Because I don't know how much is. I know she knows that she needs something to trade to get back into good graces of the group, but I don't know that she's thought about it much more than that. And it's like this, some of this clumsy stuff seems a little bit, like I said, it's not like something she's trying to do for effect. It's just things she's trying to do. Yeah. I swore she stole an oil lamp, but I have no idea why that wouldn't be noticed, and what the hell is going to happen with it now that we're already got Samantha Morton at her gates. Yeah.
So then some of the new group wants to head back out. Prison Tats doesn't want to defy the leader of their new community, but the others are pretty sure they could sneak out under the walls. They take a vote and decide to do it later that night.
It's funny that Magneto is the one that's now on team. Let's just follow the rules.
Jesus, who is Magneto again?
It's whoever. Pick one.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
The knife lover. She's the one that caused all the trouble in Alexandria. She's like, you know what? Maybe if we just listen to the leaders of this group who've got a good thing going, maybe we should follow their lead instead of the lead that let us, almost die screaming or next to a fucking cargo container. But I guess
her core issue is trust, right? Like, and loyalty. And so she doesn't seem super loyal. She seems out for herself more than any of the other group. And so that would kind of make sense. Like she wouldn't trust this new community when they first encounter them. She's resistant to go in. But then once they're in the safety of that community, she's resistant then to go back out looking for their friend. I don't know.
But I guess I can see this. You saw this as kind of like, a flip-flop in a single episode, which you're not wrong. It literally is. But I saw it as more of like, well, we're not going to defy the group, but we might try to sneak out, because it does seem there's something sacrosanct in this group about their democracy. Like, they've referenced it several times. Things come down to a vote, and like, well, we called off the search because we couldn't hold a vote, because if we did, Tara would be like, well, fuck you, arrested, you're in jail for the night. We can't have you sneaking out and leading, because that's the thing. While I was watching this, like, what's going to happen is they're going to sneak out and they're going to fuck up, and they're going to lead the entire Whisperer clan back to the gates of Hilltop, and lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Of course, you could also say they're torturing the shit out of Boston Rob and the Professor, and getting that in, since they do have two people, they can compare notes and be effective at it. So, yeah, I guess I see it, and I'm wondering when they're going to transition from being the fucking new guys and their little mini democracy to, like, we're now part of a group, and we have to. It's not just our opinion versus the world. Like, I wonder when they're actually going to get integrated. I was actually worried that they're going to kill. Like, I felt like when the two sisters went off, that, like, we're just never going to see them again. They're going to, and I'm like, Jesus, I thought that having the deaf person was interesting. Like, that'd be a crazy useful school. Teach everyone sign language so you can communicate silently with each other. Sure. That'd be a really amazing resource to use against the Whisperers, and like, they just fucking killed her off. But fortunately, that didn't happen. Not yet. She is hiding in terror in a cornfield at the end of this episode, beset by enemies on all sides. It's not too late for them to fuck this up, but
sure.
I was really afraid that they're going to do that, because I thought that's an interesting piece of distinctiveness to add to your group.
Yeah, and Carol's already at least 5 letters in. Learning, so
yeah, she's got her foot in the door.
So tell me if this strikes you as silly. Has there ever been a time in your life where you've been a part of a group that has an ethos or a set of beliefs that they codify and formalize into a motto that they then vocalize frequently? Because this always strikes me as just a weird thing to do. This minute by minute, day by day, ride or die, which seems to be like a literal motto, like verbatim motto that they have.
I mean, like, you're talking like in a Jersey Shore YOLO kind of way, like to have like some kind of ethos that way, or
no, I'm talking about just like an ethos that you live by, that you have codified into language that you then repeat as a motto. It just seems very culty, very strange to me.
Yeah, because like, no, this isn't really spoilers for The Last of Us 2, but like several of the factions in that game have those codified, like the wolves. May your survival be long, may your death be swift, and it's something that's like their greeting and like their guiding principle. And the Fireflies had, when you're in darkness, head towards the light, and other factions have other ones. But it does seem culty, but I'm fine with culty. I'm not fine with culty behavior, but I think culty behavior in the apocalypse setting is interesting, because it does seem plausible to me that, like, when shit like this, like when you see in The Leftovers, when something inexplicable happens, 2% of the world population just disappears in a single moment, when you've got the dead walking the earth and eating the living, all bets are fucking off, man. You want to come at me with science and philosophy and religion and reason? Look where it's got you. The fucking dead are walking, man. Like, it's time for us to get right with the old gods. Like, I'm actually surprised there hasn't been more weird shit, and I want that weird shit. I just want it to make sense, and I want them to build that world, unlike what they did to the trash people. So, like, oh yeah, it's culty as fuck, but and
I know that there are actual groups in the real world that do this. Like, any military organization has this.
Sure,
but they're literally trying to brainwash you with it. Like, that's the whole point of that thing.
Yeah.
So
cohesiveness and obeying a strict obedience to orders. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it seems extra strange also when it's like a group of 4 or 5 people who have done this.
They did it like voluntarily. Yeah.
It's just a little weird.
I don't know. Ride or Die is more of a philosophy, like, blood's thicker than water kind of thing. Like, well, he's an asshole, but he's my brother, so I'm gonna fight you even though you don't deserve. Like, it's really
that minute by minute, day by day thing. I'm like, that's strange.
Ride or die, no matter what.
Yeah. So Daryl
What if the other
prepares-
person fails to ride and or die? Do you have to be ride or die about their not riding and dying? You know, like if they fail to ride or die minute to minute, day by day, do you then revoke their ride or die membership? Or do you well, you know, hey, everyone, you can't, that's the ideal. It's the guideline, it's the principle, but you know, we don't expect everyone to live up to it 100% of the time.
No,
Are there
exceptions? You get 59-second breaks, but minute by minute, you got to ride or die.
Right. Or I wonder if it's like Animal Farm, where it's like some riders are more equal than other, or are a little bit more ride or die than others, and that's just understood. Some of these people can stroll and live, and you can't really say anything about it because they've really established their ride or die principles earlier. I don't know. Very interesting.
All right, Daryl prepares a switch while explaining what it is, probably from experience. He also claims that Lydia's story is bullshit because she has these switch marks on her arms, but her dad is dead, and none of it's lining up. So she admits that her mom did it, but won't give up her people's locations. Spouts some shit about why they walk with the dead, and her mother beating her because she loves her. Then we get a flashback to Lydia's father. You know, this whole thing is shaken up and reversed. Young Lydia wakes up in the middle of the night. The guy who her mother killed wakes up, takes a bite out of her father's neck. Turns out none of this is true. But back in her cell, Lydia claims that her father wasn't tough enough to survive, and that Daryl also isn't, which, okay, come on. Now you're just talking shit. He tells her she doesn't know shit about anything and walks out. And he's 100% right. When you claim that Daryl is not a survivor, no,
you've lost the plot, kid.
All credibility out the window.
It is fun to go back into the early days where people hadn't got this stuff figured out, because like when they were voting, like we gotta get him out of here because he's gonna start stinking. Well, we should wait until blah 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 because it'll be safer. Yeah, well, no, he's even though he's not bit, he's gonna rise up. They didn't know that, and seeing that kind of mechanic be like, what's it been, years since that's been a factor in The Walking Dead? I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. Even though you're right, it's like, you know, that's the other first clue is now her dad seems a little bit more sympathetic in this scene, and he's got his beard back. He grew it back, even though, you know,
and her mom's got this bad haircut, and like, what is that all about?
Yeah, that was one of my first clues that this was a fictionalized account. That you have a man who's saying like, I've grown this beard out just for you. I can't wait to get rid of it. Like, I don't know. Like, it seems like the lazy man's hair, you know. Style, beard style is to just grow one out. So I thought that was like, that's unbelievable that a guy would, society's making me keep this beard, I'm gonna cut it off, I'm only living for myself now. Like, I mean, okay, buddy, settle down.
Don Draper, like,
yeah, I don't know. Is there any? I mean, you'd have to go back pretty far in history to find a time where like beards were rigidly enforced by society. Yeah. This guy's never been in one for sure.
Then the new group sneaks out through a secret tunnel, which I think we've seen this tunnel before.
Is this the teenager hatch? The teenagers just have a hatch built in the outside of the wall?
Hidden under some bad like firewood piles. I don't know.
Nobody's gone to get firewood or patrolled the outside of the door and be like, what's this hatch doing here? Well, what the fuck? It pops up in a tinderbox. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. This is Hilltop, man, since Maggie's gone, hasn't taken their security nearly as serious as they should.
It's true.
One thing about the last scene, I just noticed this. Daryl's lost one of his angel wings. It's been torn off.
Really?
I don't know if it's like from the time jump or whether he had like his poncho or whatever on, and I just now noticed it. But like, that's got to be deliberately symbolizing something, that he's going through a character change.
Yeah, let's keep his wings clipped.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting that he's lost the right side of his angel wings. There's like just a bare like little nub still left on one side, and the other one's still flushed out. I'm wondering if he doesn't lose the other one, or if that's just going to be the fact. I wonder if it'll also like represent that maybe he has like fully balanced the different parts of his character, the angelic and demonic, the loner and the community leader, if he's in harmony and balance with that. Or if he's going to lose both his wings, it's going to be a real dramatic character change.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
or
I
it
guess
could just be they decided this patch had been on there for 10 years and needed to come off.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what happens when you wear the same vest for a decade.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. In the zombie apocalypse,
my clothes don't last a decade, and I'm not rolling around in the mud fighting zombies. So
I got hand stitched angel wings on my leather jacket. No.
All right, Henry asks Daryl what's going to happen to Lydia. He tells Daryl a story about his mother cutting her hair to keep her first husband from abusing her, and tries to convince Daryl that Lydia can be redeemed. Daryl says he's not the only one who can lead her to redemption, implying that Henry can.
Yeah. Again,
it's dangerous because of what happens next with them, but we'll get there.
Yeah, but I think, man, you saying that Daryl's like this post-apocalyptic therapist really brought into relief, because he is doing a very good job of like teaching Henry some lessons. Like, you know what, I fooled you, and when you saw that you were being used, that shows you that you're mature enough to maybe be brought into the other side of this operation, which is to like, deliberately flip her, try to help her. That's like the best way to flip somebody, to genuinely offer a way out of their predicament and give them a path forward to see hope if they play through things your way. It's just, seems like it's really good.
And I like that he's sort of inadvertently through this whole situation doing what Carol wanted him to do, which is sort of mentor Henry. I don't think he ever set out to really do that, but here he is.
Yeah, and I think there's also a realization later on. Henry remarks to Daryl, "I'm glad you were my mom's friend." Like, he's kind of realizing the okey doke here. So it's like, I don't think any of this was all deliberate. He planned it out. It's just that, by virtue of who he is, he's going to teach the guy the lessons he needs.
You got to wonder how much Carol kind of knew that, because she knows him so well, right?
Yeah, that he's not like, he knows everything he needs to learn, but he's not cruel and vindictive, so he's not going to teach him, in a way that's going to scar him. Like,
and also that Henry might sort of feed back into Daryl and help Daryl. Like the idea that like by helping someone else, you can also be helping yourself, showing yourself the way.
Do you remember that time when Daryl and Carol went into the city on a mission together? And this is where I don't remember. Someone got a book on childhood abuse, and I wasn't sure if it was Daryl that got it and was reading it and trying to keep it hidden, or Carol got it and tried to get Daryl to read it. But like, I wonder if they're going to show that Carol has been reading this book and like been planning this for years. Oh boy, once Henry becomes a man-child, I want to ship him off to Daryl, and these pieces are going to fit together like a puzzle, and it's just going to be mutual healing, and it's going to be amazing.
Maybe that's the long con.
Be a deep cut to do that.
Yeah. So the new group finds some tracks in the woods. They stop to converse and attract the attention of one of the many walkers that are lurking about. And they decide the exact same thing that Tara decided the first time they did this, which is we should go back and make a plan. One of them starts crying about how they can't leave Stradivarius behind, and another agrees to continue the search. So two of them head back, and walkers are sort of watching from the distance, which I think are supposed to believe are human walkers.
I think we actually saw stitches on the back of the one that's watching it. But also, Stealth Walker. It's been a while since we saw one of those. Just popped out. Especially since the one, the deaf woman was shining a flashlight in the exact direction that it came from, literally seconds before the attack. Like, these things are not just quiet, they apparently can stay, hidden in the visual spectrum as well. I don't know. I'm also like, with the presence of the skin jobs or the whispers or whatever you want to call them, like, I don't know. Like, do they just releasing them one at a time, seeing what'll happen? Like, is there any kind of intentionality to this? It's funny. Stealth walkers.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they just sort of were surrounded on all sides and were either oblivious or very nonchalant about it. I don't know, because we see a lot of like regular walkers in the distance,
Oh yeah, and they're like all around growling. This Coalport, I'm wondering what we will find out about it, because it's starting to look more and more like there is a bit of shame and regret
Mm-hmm.
amongst them for what they did. Like maybe they abandoned their post, or maybe they were,
Yeah,
having one of these little. Yeah, if we stuck to our post, we'd be dead. And like, maybe that's just this thing we're telling each other. I'm really curious to find out more about this and how it's going to possibly change our opinion of these people. Or maybe it's just trauma that they have to work through themselves. I don't know, but I'm interested in see where they go with that.
I mean, do you think it's going to lead to a situation where they're on post at Hilltop or something, and they cut and run and cost some lives?
I'm not sure that we haven't already seen that like their actions here, and like I said, it's entirely possible that the professor and Boston Rob just got tortured the information out of them. But like, it seems pretty clear that it's connected, them sneaking out, to the sudden appearance of the Whisperers at the gates.
Mm-hmm.
So they might have already fucked up the Hilltop.
Yeah, we'll see. Henry goes down to Lydia's cell and opens it in order to show her everything good Hilltop has to offer. They sneak around, eating fresh-picked worms, and Lydia considers bashing his brains in with a hammer before hearing a baby cry, which sends her into a flashback montage of her mother losing her mind and creating the Whisperers. Lydia asks to be put back in a cell as Daryl watches from the shadows. And back in her cell, Lydia asks Henry to stay the night with her, and he does, holding her hand.
Yeah, did Henry get Daryl's permission to do this? Like, was she being watched all along? Because this seemed like the highest of stakes gambling.
Yeah, and Daryl's like watching from the shadows, and yet she's reaching for a hammer. She's like actively got it over her head, ready to swing it, I swear. And Daryl's still just kind of like, what's going to go down here?
He's like, when do I step in? It only takes a quarter second for my crossbow bolt to get this distance, and with my reflex action, I don't know. It had to be something like that. But if it was something like that, then they did let her get pretty far along to hammering poor Henry to death before they did anything about it. But so is this how we've talked about how these people eat? Is this how they eat? They just eat grubs out of the ground?
Sure, you could probably
like
just
when
pick
the
them
walkers,
off walkers, just like walking behind walkers, just
doing
a little shovel.
Is there going to be like, Jane Goodall where they're grooming each other? There's going to be scenes of like walkers standing around and they're just picking stuff out of them and eating. Because they did show like earlier in the season that like Daryl found a walker that was pinned against a tree and it was just like bursting with worms.
There you go.
If you eat a worm that's been eating a walker, do you get zombie disease though? Because
everybody's got zombie
tainted
disease,
meat,
right?
That's true, but like the virulent, like sudden death, bitey form.
Right, the little thing that kills you. I don't know. It's a good question, but it does seem like they've just got mobile buffets. It's like a constant craft service table, just walking around there with the pack.
I wonder. It's funny that the baby crying set her off because it seems like one of those things that the Whisperers seem like the Shakers. Do you know the Shakers? They were like an offshoot of the Quaker religion in the late 18th century.
This just fucking sounds made up. The Quakers and the Shakers.
They might be offshoot of the Amish. I don't know, but their religion is that they didn't have sex. That was forbidden. And what they would do is they would attend meetings where they're divided up in male and female, and they would just do these vigorous forms of dance in isolation. And that's how they got their names, the Shakers.
They realize the Shakers are inevitability of their philosophy,
yes,
right?
I don't know if they did or not, but the Shakers, as a consequence, are a dead religion. I think there's like 2 90-year-old women still alive. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing, because you can't have a baby with this sort of societal get up, because the baby won't play along with the whole walking. It'll start screaming, and then so like I wonder if the baby crying was like the nail in the coffin of her belief in her mom, that like, well, these people are raising children. This is a philosophy that has life, where my mom's is a terminal philosophy of death. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's the thing I don't understand about Samantha Norton's alpha character, is like, it seems like if you really believe the bullshit, you would just let a zombie bite you and join them. If the dead really are ruling the world and you have to join them, that's the way to join them. This is like half-assing it. Like rocking a hard place in your philosophy here, but you're the one that came up with it, not me.
And shave as many hairs off your body as you want, but you're not a walker.
Right.
Until you're a walker.
And why is she? Yeah, and why is she shaving her head? Why doesn't she shave her daughter's head? Why isn't everyone's head? Lots of because like shaving your head's a pretty intense, thing of self care that you got to do on a regular basis to keep it that shaved. Like, is she like peeling off to like, straight razor her scalp with that knife every night?
Oh yeah.
It's
like Red Dead 2. You've got, you go back to camp, you've got your razor, and you can give yourself a shave. You can donate whatever mealworms you find on the walker in front of you to the rest of the camp.
Do you, if you cut yourself shaving and you put a walker scalp on you, do you become infected? Does she like have a supply of Ziploc bags that she shoves over her bloody pate to keep that from happening? Again, I just have questions. I have questions.
Maybe she uses fire. She's one of those people who uses fire to cut her hair, so she just like sets her scalp on fire.
Oh, there you
cauterizes,
go.
The follicles, and
sure,
doesn't have to worry about it.
Puts a layer of Neosporin down, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. So the next morning, Daryl comes down with food, and Lydia asks for the pills again. Then she explains that no one's coming to look for her, and their people are probably dead if her mother found them. She gives up the location of her camp, and then she weepily recontextualizes her time in the basement as a child, where her mother was actually a monster who killed her father and started the Whispers.
So apparently they were really close to getting the whole pack at the covered bridge there, according to her testimony. That might be why they found the daughter, because you'd think that she would stay pretty close to her mom. Pretty lucky pull, it seems like.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense why there'd be, big herds walking around if they were that close to where this camp is. I wonder what they mean when, she's talking about how they don't stay in one place for very long. Have they roamed the country? Have they just been in this area?
Baltimore's very close. Baltimore's very close to Washington, D.C., and they established in the very first scene that this was a Baltimore survivors group. So I don't think they've roamed across the country unless they've roamed and then come back. But maybe it's more of just kind of like they follow. Because at some point, it seems like you gotta... why wouldn't you just follow the herd for a while, but then the other, I guess, into that is like if all you're doing is falling through the ground and eating worms every once in a while, shit, those things are everywhere. So like, why wouldn't you just kind of keep them in an area you knew would be devoid of large groups? I guess that's the problem I have is how the fuck if their philosophy's been to stay away from large groups, have they run into smack dab in the middle of 3 now? It seems like they would have turned around and left, because why would they like be fucking with this large group? But I don't know. Lydia could still be lying a little bit, or she also there's also a possibility that Alpha, the mom, is not giving her all accurate information about what they do and what their objectives are, etc.
Or they just didn't know about the communities. If they only ever see. Because these communities become insular over the last 6 years.
That's a good point.
So they haven't been making a lot of trips out to the other communities.
Right.
And it's pretty clear based on what Lydia says that they didn't know they were there. Because like when she's talking with Henry mentions about the other community, and her eyes light up, and she's like, "Oh, there's another community." So she didn't even know about this one, let alone the others.
Maybe you're right. The weird isolationist Michonne stance feeds into this plot to make it more plausible. Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Prison Tats and Bow Girl get back to Hilltop, where Tara spots him. Bow Girl goes up to talk to her.
I forgot that we talked about the final flashback scene where the lone zombie goes on a rampage. Did you find her dad hilariously inept? Like, he trips, lands against the wall, then Samantha Morton kills him right then and there. There's a little bit of echo to that with like Henry and Lydia taking one step out of the prison and tripping over a brick.
Yeah.
Which I thought like, oh, well, this is going to be the brick that she bashes his head open, and then she grabs the hammer, and I'm like, well, the fuck? Did they just need to give them a reason to roll on the ground so she can start eating worms?
I guess so.
It's a weird thing to write yourself into.
I wouldn't find it weird if her dad like wasn't gung-ho. Like, see, he sets off on a mission, right? Like he's gonna jump out there and he's gonna deal with
check
shit.
out the stairway. Yeah,
but he jumps out there and he falls on his face and gets killed. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Immediately.
I didn't think about it.
And also,
like,
why do you got to give him an excuse to go to the ground and eat worms? Like, it would have been creepier if Lydia's been like, "Ooh, dirt," and just like goes down there and starts tearing at it to like get worms. You know, like it's little. I don't know. Can you feel the love tonight, Jim?
I do.
Me and Elton John both want to know.
So Daryl heads out to talk with Tara about the Whisperer camp, with Henry following close behind, asking if Lydia can stay. He says, "We'll see." Then Henry says he's glad to have Daryl as a friend of his mother.
Some people aren't meant to be parents, like Daryl, for example.
Yeah, but maybe.
But yet.
Right. I feel like he could be. He could be.
Mm-hmm.
So Tara then asks Bowgirl what they found. She replies that they found nothing and apologizes for leaving. Then the others show up, escorted by guards that Tara sent to retrieve them. She tells Bowgirl to come to her next time and talk about it so that more people don't die. And they see a whole group of Whisperers trailing behind them. The deaf woman, whose name I don't know, gets stuck outside and the rest retreat inside the gates. Lydia's mother leads the pack up to the gate and demands to see her daughter.
Yeah. I put in my notes, Alpha brought the band Slipknot with her. There's a little... some of these, they're far less creepy looking in broad daylight, you know?
And more silly than creepy?
It's little, like I said, little Slipknot with, you can see the laces, you can see the eyes within the eyes. It's I don't know. Little Michael. I never found Michael Myers very scary either, with the Bill Shatner face painted white.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people find that very terrifying. The same thing with Leatherface, Chainsaw Texas. I always thought like he reads more stupid and clownish than scary to me.
Yeah, these are very Leatherface.
Yeah. It's like looks just like a really grunge metal band that she's frontlining. So, but my first thought is like, what the fuck is she doing? Because she's got like 30 people, and they're just people. They're not zombies. What keeps Hilltop from just arrowing the shit out of all these people, running out there with machetes, running up on them? I mean, they've got the high ground, both physically and metaphorically, tactically. I wonder if they've got Luke or the professor and Boston Rob right there that they're going to bring up and like use as a leverage against them.
Yeah, hostage trade kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's got to be it. Like the first volley here in negotiations is, we've got your friends.
Do you think the hostage trade will go smoothly? Because I feel like at this point, this thing with Lydia could go back the other way, because, you know, she said her mom doesn't care about her and she doesn't love her, and, you know, her love is abuse. And yet here is a counter argument. And the counter argument against that's going to take some explaining. I just wonder if like Tara's like, okay, fine. Yeah, you can have your daughter back. Give us our two people. If Lydia goes, and if she says, I don't want to go, what does Hilltop do then? Because then you got some morality and ethical problems. Yeah, I'm curious to see how Tara, the newly thrust into the limelight leader of Hilltop, deals with this, because those are some tricky questions. And I feel like the last episode, the town kind of put her on notice, like, hey, we're watching you. You better get us our justice, and you better do this, and you better do that. And if like she refuses to trade Lydia, that's not going to sit real well with, you know, Rhett Butler or whatever.
God. Yeah, I would love to see a showdown between Alpha and Brett Butler.
Yeah,
like, just get them to do the negotiations. That would be incredible.
Right. Yeah, send in your head ball busting and negotiator to deal with the Alpha problem. But yeah, that's all I think, like legit interesting drama that they've well set up and established, and I'm very curious to see how they resolve it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty impressed with the way Tara is handling things. You know, she's no stranger to running this community. She's apparently been doing it for a while now, because Jesus has not been. But she, I think, handles this pretty well. You know, she sends a party out to kind of keep them safe, and then tells them, like, look, I'm not going to punish you for doing what you did. I get it, but like, we're trying to keep everybody safe here. So next time, just come to me if you disagree with where this is going, and we'll talk about it. It's a good way to lead, and yeah, Tara's Tara's come a long way. Since season 4, season 5. It's been forever since she's been part of this group.
She's come a long way since she was known primarily as Fist Bump.
Yeah, for sure.
And
she
was always kind of even in the pre-flashback, she was always kind of more the Joker, the the one that never took things too seriously, the one that's always like, giving Rick shit about stuff. Not high emotional maturity, and I feel like the time jump did her character some favors, that you kind of get the understanding she's been stepping up as a leader at the Hilltop, where she's essentially second in command. She's Jesus' chief of staff, and now she's the de facto leader. I wouldn't have believed that even 5 episodes ago.
Yeah.
But again, this time jump's doing a lot of good narrative heavy lifting, which shocks the fuck out of me. I'm really surprised at how well it's worked out.
Yeah. That's the end of the episode. What
yeah, that's it. We're ready to tell people where they can send feedback. We'll probably next time consider feedback at the end of season 9. So if you would like to send in those takes to watchingdead@baldmove.com, you can do so. We also have a forum community at forums.baldmove.com if you want to reconnect or connect with people to talk about the episodes and our coverage of it. Whatever, it's there at forums.baldmove.com. Of course, you can follow @baldmove on all the social medias to keep up to date with everything we're doing. And also, if you really like Bald Move, I will invite you to. We still have the Walking Dead feed, but we're covering this on our Pulp feed. Which, if you like comic books and superheroes and space shit and zombies and dragons, you'll probably not like things that are happening on the Pulp feed.
Double negative,
great
really
way.
threw me off. Not much.
Probably not much to not like if you don't want to stop liking. You search for Bald Move Pulp, and you can subscribe and get all of our pulpy stuff. And the counterpart to that's Prestige, if you want to hear us talk more about serious stuff. Emmy winning, Oscar winning. I don't think it's funny because I went to the Walking Dead subreddit today to like investigate some news, and one of the top voted threads is like, why isn't the Walking Dead winning an Emmy? Man, it's just not gonna.
In my mouth tastes like eating worms.
It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen at this point. Even if this thing turned into something Emmy winning, you're just never going to get.
For God's sake, it took Martin Scorsese 50 fucking years to win one.
Sure.
You think this show is gonna win? To win an Oscar, this thing's gonna win an Emmy on year 11. Give it 40 more years.
Especially with the state of other television, with the acting and the writing and whatnot that they've got. So, like I said, always an outside chance for them to win on special effects or makeup. I think they have won on a couple of years on some of those technical awards, but yeah, Bald Move Prestige if you want to see if you want the quote unquote good stuff. But yeah, there we go. We look forward to seeing you back next week when we see what happens with this Alpha Terra standoff. Until then, I'm Aaron.
I'm Jim.
See you next week.